and for those, thank you. For those of you online, we welcome you to our Transcom meeting. For those of you who have been working with the WFRC, this is far and away the most exciting meeting that we put on. Now, we need to first, by the way, today is Thursday, April the 24th. It's just past 1:30. We'll call it 1:33, 5, something like that, between the 3 and the 5. And we'd also like to excuse Mayor Mark Shepard, who's not able to attend in person, but we do expect him to be online here shortly. So he's asked me to conduct today. What would start with you, Rosie? We're going to go around the table and do some brief introductions, and then we'll have Andrea introduce those of you who are online. Go ahead.
Rosie Hernandez, Wasatch Front Regional Council.
Jordan Chandler, WFRC staff.
Joe Smolka, Immigration Canyon.
Lauren Palmer, Mayor in Harriman.
Carlton Christensen, I'm a bodyguard for Mayor Palmer, and then also a trustee for the Utah Transit Authority.
Andrea Pearson, WFRC staff.
Wayne Benyon, WFRC staff. Ted Knowlton, WFRC staff.
Rob Daly, City of Holiday.
Sherry Bingham, Mayor of Upper City.
Ben Hewitt with UDOT.
Sorry, John A. with WFRC, John A. Nardone.
Ellie Spencer, WFRC staff.
Byron Head, WFRC staff.
Matt Ryan, WFRC staff.
Hugh Van Wagenen, WFRC staff.
Jay Mesquita, WFRC staff.
Chandler Butler, UTA Government Relations.
Jaron Robertson, Utah Transit Authority Planning.
Julie Bjornstad, WFRC staff.
Brooke Stewart with Weber County.
Tori Johnner, Long Range Plan Group, WFRC.
Ben Withrich with Wasatch Front staff.
Andrea?
Trisha Sharma, Federal Highways.
Thank you.
And Tricia and Jaron, if you'd like to sit at the table, you're welcome to do that. I apologize for not having your name tags. And those that we have joining us online are Kendall and Harris, Ivan Marrero, Kevin Van Tassel, and I'm going with Kendall Draney. If that's different, please let me know. If we've missed you, please type it in the chat. Thanks.
Because we don't have a quorum, we're going to move past our approval of the minutes, that first action item. And then we have 2 items today by the way of a federal update. We have the Ambassador of Enthusiasm, M. Wayne Benyon, who's going to give us both of those updates today. Wayne, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, these are little technical, so bear with me. The first is in regard to our ozone air quality challenges, which we've previously discussed at Transcom. And some of you will have heard this, but others probably have not. And so we thought it would be valuable to share this with you. While in Utah a couple of weeks ago, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Lee Zeldin announced that the agency is rescinding guidance on the preparation of Clean Air Act Section 179B, demonstrations for non-attainment areas affected by international transport of emissions. This means that there is increased flexibility for the State Division of Air Quality and other Intermountain state agencies to demonstrate attainment of the national air quality standard for ozone. This will help Utah avoid being penalized for international transport of emissions, which obviously is not within our control. So good news, and wanted to share that with you. The second is in regard to Safe Streets and Roads for All funding through the Federal Highway Administration or through U.S. Department of Transportation. Last week, we sent an email out about the FY25 notice of funding opportunity for this discretionary grant program. The deadline for applications is June 26th. Those seeking an implementation grant need to get a pre-application submitted to USDOT by May 9th. Local governments can apply for either an implementation grant or a supplemental planning and demonstration grant, but not both in the same year or at the same time. And important to remember, a 20% local match is required. The Comprehensive Safety Action Plan that Transcom adopted a year ago is what makes local governments eligible to apply for these grants. And so we hope you take advantage of it. I will note that presently the FY24 Safe Streets and Roads for All awards are on hold pending federal review. But the FY25 NOFO has been released. So hopefully it's worth your time to put in an application. Any comments or questions on either of those two items?
Comments in the room or online? Great. On the advice of council, we're going to move back to item number 1, which is the approval of minutes. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That passes. Those of you like a motion to accept the chair's report, is there a motion to approve that report?
So moved.
Thank you. Sherry?
Second.
Great. We have a second from Kevin Van Tassel. Thank you. That, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, unanimous. Thank you very much. Let's continue to move on. This is the time that those of you who are here from the public have waited for. If you'll limit your comments to 3 minutes, please state your name and the organization you represent. Go ahead. Any in the room? How about online? Boy, we're happy to give you an opportunity next time, right? But we're going to keep moving on then to item number 4, which is the Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP. Ben, we've got several items today in regard to the Transportation Improvement Program. The first is information regarding the amendment to the TIP. The last 4 are the Transcom's annual opportunity to review and recommend projects to add to federal funding programs administered by the WFRC Regional Council. Now what we're going to do is turn the time over to Ben Withrich to share this board modification. Ben, go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Mr. Chair. As the chair indicated, this is a pretty awesome opportunity here where we get to talk about the Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP, as it's commonly referred to. And we are currently functioning under the 2025-2030 Transportation Improvement Program.
If I can interrupt you just for
Yes,
a moment.
please.
For those of you who are online, maybe you'll have an opportunity for this in your next lifetime. But for those of you here in person, this will be one of the most memorable presentations you have ever seen. Ben, go ahead.
Oh, man. I think I'm
wanna-
about to kill over, maybe CPR paddles and thereby. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So today we have a couple of items. We've got a report on the approved board modification that was approved by the Regional Council in their last meeting. And then we've got the opportunity to review new projects to be included in the draft programs, and we'll go through those programs here in just a minute. That's congestion mitigation air quality, that's CMAQ. The carbon reduction program is the CRP. Transportation alternative program, that's the TAP. And the surface transportation program, that's the SDP program. You might notice that we don't have a board modification for this body. This is a rare occurrence. Part of this is due to the awesome work that's happening in our communities as well as with UDOT. And the environment that we're in, a lot of the projects that are moving forward are able to move so without requiring additional funds. But Mr. Hewitt or Ben with UDOT has informed me we'll make up with that in the next meetings quickly. So we'll take advantage of that today. But so in your meeting materials, well, let's review this just in case you forgot from the last time we met, that the TIP is a 6-year program of the highway transit and active transportation projects. These are the projects that actually have funding on them. They implement the long-range plans and they meet the short-range needs along the Wasatch Front. And then due to the periodic modifications due to the dynamic nature of the TIP, and as mentioned, this wasn't quite as dynamic this meeting. So we have here the regional council took action back in March on the 27th. They had a board modification before them. They reviewed the material and approved that board modification, amended it into the 2030 TIP. That information, along with the signed resolution, is included in your meeting materials. That would be all that we have for item 4A.
Great. Thank you very much, Ben. Are there any questions for Ben on this? Okay, then moving right along, we'll look for some action recommending the 2026 through 2031 Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program, or the CMAQ, and item 4C action recommend for the 2027 Carbon Reduction Program, or the CRP. Ben, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So in this item here, this is where we get to talk about the new projects. And just to clarify the acronym, we'll have each one of these step forward and wave as their names are called out. But the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program, that's the CMAQ, and the Carbon Reduction Program, we'll take care of those now. And then following that, as the chair will indicate, we have the TAP program and then the Surface Transportation Program. These are project recommendations for the draft programs. This is one of the major roles and responsibilities of Transcom is to review these projects and make the recommendations that they receive those funds and move forward into the draft or into the new Transportation Improvement Program, which will be 2631 TIP, and that'll be approved in August. So if you'll recall, the process for identifying the new projects takes place in the early fall when the WFRC sends out a request for letters of intent. Those letters of intent are then due back in the early part of October, and then those potential project sponsors are requested to prepare and submit a concept report or an application. That information is then initiated into the evaluation process. We begin that project review and the evaluation of all those projects during the months of January, February, and March. At the end of March, the Technical Advisory Committee makes a recommendation that we bring to this body for your review and approval for those projects. Then we take those draft projects and programs or draft projects to the Regional Council in May for them to adopt those projects into the draft programs. Then we prepare the draft TIP, the draft 26 draft or 2031 TIP, which we'll bring back to you in June for your approval to go out for public review and comment during the month of July. Then in August, we're back to all our committees reporting on what happened during that public review and comment period. For the tax for their reviews, for Transcom for their recommendation to the Regional Council, and then the Regional Council's approval. Then we submit with the other MPOs with the state to Federal Highways and Federal Transit Agency for their review. And in come October 1, we have a brand new transportation improvement program. So right now in this process, we're right here in April, May, we're bringing the recommendations to you from the technical advisory committees. So what took place? Well, in the Ogden-Layton urban area, we had 31 unique projects. Now there were 39 projects to be evaluated. That means there were 8 projects there that were requesting in multiple funds. So of those 31 unique projects, those project total cost were more than $174 million. They were requesting more than $83 million, almost $84 million against an available amount of $16 million if we were to add up all 4 of those programs. You can see the numbers there. There were 18 requests for STP funds. There were 5 for the CMAQ. There were 11 for the TAP, and there were 5 for the CRP. The available funds were underneath them, and the amount requested for each of those programs are listed above. In the Salt Lake urban area, there were 57 unique projects, but there were 92 projects to evaluate there. Those unique projects totaled more than $566 million. They were requesting $209+ million for an available amount of about $31.5 million. So in both urban areas, significant demands, good projects, but not a lot of money. Hence the responsibilities we have to really utilize all of the resources available to identify the best project for the time, for the amount of funds that we have available.
Hey, Ben.
So, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Just to clarify, so the reason for 92 total project requests is that many of those projects, as Ben has mentioned, were requesting to be funded through multiple programs or more than one of these programs. So just in case, you probably got that, but I know it took me a minute, so just clarifying that.
Thanks, Wayne. Yes.
So the ones that did multiple ones, are they a portion of the project, or they just were hopeful that in one of those pots they would get selected? I mean, is it the same project in each one, or did one have an air quality and another had an STP portion that made up the whole project?
There were some of that, but the most part they were all in. They went for STP or the CMAQ or the TAP, whatever type of project it was. But that total project estimate isn't double counting. That's just the 57 projects. So you can see there's a significant need in the urban area.
Thanks for clarification on that. Thank you, Ben.
So when we make a request for those potential project sponsors, all of the project sponsors, they fill out the cost estimation forms. Then those that are requesting STP, CMAQ, and CRP, they have this form that they fill out. That's a project evaluation concept report form for those programs. The TAP programs have these forms that they fill out. And then also the CMAQ and the CRP programs, they also have to submit an emission analysis form. So this is the data that we're collecting from the local governments. There's the same information for each project for those types of funds or that type of program. But in addition to that, when we go out for a field review, we collect additional information outside of just an on-site hands-on view of the project. We're collecting information while we're out there as well. So from this information, we gather points. We're making calculations in the various criteria depending on the type of projects. There's a score that can be calculated and developed by the numbers that we receive from the project. Length, that's a common ask. Volume, conditions, those kind of information that we're asking, we're able to quantify those and we're able to put them up here and we're able to obtain a score on that project. But you know, there's a lot of things in a project that we can't measure that are hard to collect, and we would consider that information other relevant professional considerations, such as Years ago, there was a project that was recommended by Transcom. It had some significant safety concerns. However, there had never been an incident. And so as far as safety scores and other information pertaining to that, it was nothing. But if some of you were here and recalled, there was actually a video that was taken, time-lapsed, over a period of time, which showed it happened actually here on 300 North, where there's 9 tracks, rail tracks, and at times there are trains parked there for an undisclosed amount of time, sometimes an hour or more. And in this video that the sponsor was able to provide, it showed students waiting there and then finally getting tired and climbing in or around or under the railway cars to keep going west, to get home, or to come back towards school. Those were some significant issues that the scores or data just couldn't pick up, but other professional considerations brought that right to the top. So this is information that we try to look at with every project. We want to know the data. It's very important, but we also want to look at those other professional considerations that are necessary to identify the best project for the time that we have. Now, there's an opportunity. Actually, we're going to have a little demonstration to help us illustrate what does this mean. Well, let's pull some things out.
You know, this is the only reason I'm here.
All right. Well, first of all, we're going to look at one that we'll refer to as Project A. And another one we'll look at, we'll refer to as Project B. I can what? Project Beth. All right. Okay, those are our projects. So let's pretend. So here's Project A. And here's Project B. Now, if we're out on the road and we're looking at these projects, either one looks like a pretty good project. They both do their jobs. They both look usable. But we can't tell any difference about them. Is one more important than the other? We don't know right now. However, if we were to include some data, well, that's where we come in. They got a new child-proof opening here. Okay. So we're going to provide some data. So remember, we request through those concept reports, we send those out to the project sponsors, and there's specific information that they fill out so that we can measure project against project. So we got that information back on Project A. Looks like some pretty good data. Okay. Well, now you can tell Project A, whoops, we're just losing data. All right. Then we got the concept report back on Project B. Again, it's looking like really good data. Maybe just a little. Okay, now, if we were to stop, I won't get our cover dirty. If we were to stop right there, either one of those projects looks terrific, right? But if you're like me, I think I would go with Project A, right? Wouldn't any of you go with Project A? If we were looking at just the data, Project A has what it takes. However, if we start to look at some of those other relevant professional considerations, well, let's do that. So the first one up there, we've got field review comments. You know, out on the field reviews, they were amazing. Those projects, we met with the sponsors. By the way, we had representation from UDOT, Federal Highways, UTA, and our office. I'm normally not this shaky. Those field reviews were awesome. They were almost essential to identifying good projects, to be out on the ground, be standing next to the edge of the road, watching a little tiny kid ride his bike right next to a lane of traffic. That really helps you understand the impact that this project has. What does this improvement bring to the quality of life for these people? Well, then we were looking, and you know, we wanted to look at what's the next one up there. Well, sponsored project history. Well, you know, Project A, they're really good guys, but sometimes they just got so much going on that their projects just aren't moving along. Now, that's not something we really want to broadcast and make anyone look bad, but that's a fact that we've got a program, and every day we wait to spend those dollars, that project costs more, those dollars are worth less. So we want to look. So Project A, maybe we don't look at that, but Project B, you know, they've got a pretty good project history. They turn those projects around. They're making things happen. Well, then let's look at, how about distribution of funding? Okay, well, if we look at both urban areas, or we look at the urban area and we look at all the projects, Project A already has quite a bit of projects going on in that geographical area. Project B, this is the first one in a long time. And so we're going to look at Project B on this one, and we're going to look at some of those benefits that'll come up from Project B. Well, okay, so then if we look at Project Synergy, what's going to happen if this project builds now? And maybe this is a community, they've got a new school going in, or they're reconstructing or improving a school, they're going to get more traffic. If our road project can come in and make an improvement right now, at this time, that would be a plus. But what about this other project? They've actually got a county project that they've funded. So both of these projects are looking at that ability to build synergy, right? Oh, bugger. I left the synergy in the fridge. Will you grab me the synergy? Yeah, Byron. It's the blue co-whip. Blew it. And here comes that synergy. Look at things, Byron. All right. So we got the synergy going. There's people. I meant to have this all shooken up before. So we'll get the synergy ready and rolling. And all right, Project A. I don't know. There's not a lot going on with that Project A, but we did say they had another project. So, you know, maybe we'll just put a little synergy right there. But however, Project B, wow. Project B was really bringing it on. Project B has that synergy that we've got to benefit. There's a bigger bang for the bucks. If we can use it right now on Project B, that'll happen. Well, then we look at, what's another one? Project timing efficiencies. Yeah, I think Project A probably has a little. Project B, doing really good. Well, then you get to the point where you're going, well, in all of these projects, and with our responsibility across the whole network, do these projects complete? Do they fill in the gap? And we go, well, absolutely. You know, Project B, that one fills the gap. This is the last project on this line. We're going to have the ability to have the golden spoke or to complete the, oh, look at that. We're gonna, wow, do I add another one? It might fall off. We'll add to that if you want some, but here we are then, we've got both projects. We begin our evaluation, we look at the data. Then we start to look at all those other relevant professional considerations. And now we've got two projects that are still both really good. But which project would you recommend to move forward with funding? We would move forward towards B, right? We're getting a little more for the money for the project at this time. And so this is a project that we would have recommendation. Now I forgot to pass out numbers. So maybe we'll have you grab a number and then we're gonna see. Oh yeah. We get, oh, look at we're losing some of that gap abilities. Maybe we'll put another one on top. Sorry, that one's rolling off too. Okay. As soon as those numbers go around, we'll see who the lucky city is for Project A. And then who the lucky or representative, we should say, for Project A. And then the representative for Project B. Okay. Will you please, Jordan, call out a number?
12.
Who has Project 12 or number 12? Nobody. Next number.
27.
Whoa. Mayor, do you want a gap on top of this one, or is it good as is? We can even give you a consolation. All right. How about a number for Project B?
3.
Anyone has number 3?
7.
Does it have enough of the extra professional considerations? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope this made a little sense, but you know, it doesn't work if you don't have something to internalize. And so we have a little variety for everybody today. Before we proceed, we'll give them just a second to bring this other information out. Oh, I withheld on the napkins. Sorry.
Really expect me to eat the whole thing, right?
There's fruit bars in there too. Thanks. Can we? Yeah, if we can maybe just put that right in the fridge and Mr. Chair, we all right to keep going?
Absolutely, go ahead.
Thank you. So as we're looking at the information for the projects, we're going to see projects that are highlighted that are not the very top projects necessarily, but it's because as we're looking at the scores, we get the scores, and then combine that with the other relevant professional considerations, we hopefully have identified the best project for the time that we have and for the amount of funds we have available. And so in your meeting materials, you'll have, this is the list of projects. This particular one right here is CMAQ. You'll have the projects listed. The ones that are highlighted with the blue left column there are projects that are being recommended. And then you'll see over on the way they're scored. Now they're sorted by score. Now the CMAQ, as well as the CRP programs, they have an emissions benefit. So in the CMAQ, it's all the emissions, and we look at that benefit, and you get the cost benefit there, benefit cost. In the CRP, we have to show a benefit in the carbon reduction. That's the emissions that the CRP program looks at. And so you'll look at the cost benefits for that, and they're also ranked in that order here. So in the other programs, like the TAP programs, we're actually looking at 3 types of programs or projects in that program. Those that are highlighted in pink are projects that are for studies or planning. Those that are in the blue are capital improvements, and those that are in the green are safe routes to school. So we've eliminated the scores in everything that is not pertaining to that. So you can see on the top 2 there, they have the scores in the pink there with the criteria. The next one down, the first one that's recommended there, is highlighted in the green. That's the safe routes to school. We'll go through these in a little more detail. And then the STP are the same, the way the information of the project, the amount of funds that are being recommended, and then you can see the 9 major criterias with the score, and they're sorted by score as well. So knowing that, and that information is included in your meeting materials, we're just going to go through those projects that the Technical Advisory Committee has recommended for your review and approval. So in the very first, we're going to look at the congestion mitigation, air quality, and the carbon reduction program as indicated by the chair on the very beginning. We're going to look at these 2 programs together because they're so close together in their abilities of bringing the benefits that we want to provide. The types of projects are eligible for the most part for either program. So in the congestion mitigation air quality, we have 2 projects that were recommended in the Ogden-Layton urban area. We have 4 projects that are recommended in the Salt Lake urban area. The amount programmed in the Ogden-Layton was $4 million, the amount recommended, and the amount recommended in the Salt Lake is $5.4+ million. So quickly looking at the projects that are being recommended then is in the Ogden-Layton urban area. The first project is a request from Weber County. This is actually a pedestrian bicycle improvement. In this particular case, we get a benefit of safe routes to school. This is on 9th South between 4160 West to 3600 West, 0.7 of a mile in length. Project estimated cost is $1.4+ million. The funds being requested is $1.3+ million. The TAC recommended that we program $1 million for this project. The next project is also in the Ogden-Layton urban area. This is in North Ogden. This is an intersection improvement on 2100 North and Fruitland Drive. This is to take a 4-legged intersection and convert it into a roundabout. This would provide improved safety and mobility. Drainage is an issue here, as well as reduce the vehicle delays. Project estimated cost is $4.5+ million. Funds being requested are $4.2+ million. The TAC recommended $3 million out of the CMAQ program. Then we go into the Salt Lake urban area. The first project is a request from UTA. This is 5600 West. This is on the 5600 West bus route. There, this is for operating cost. Estimated operating cost is 31 plus million. They're requesting 5 million, and the technical advisory committee recommended $1 million out of the CMAQ funds for the 5600 West bus route operating expenses. The next project is in South Jordan. This is on Shields Lane. This will construct a multi-use. It'll realign the existing road, building a multi-use path to the south, realigning the lanes of traffic and improving pedestrian crossings. Estimated project cost is 4.5 plus million. The funds being requested are 3.9 plus million. And the TAC recommended 1.2 plus million out of the CMAQ program. The next project is an intersection project in Sandy. This is on 114 South and 1300 East. This is to address the turning movements on this intersection, as well as clear the visual triangles or any obstructions in or around the corners of the intersection. Project estimated cost is 5.3 plus million. Funds being requested are a little more than 5 million, and the TAC recommended 2.2 plus million out of the CMAQ program. The next project is Salt Lake City. This is an intersection project on 2100 South and 1700 East, right next to Highland High. Highland High in this corner here. It'll take this four-legged intersection with the spur there and convert this into a roundabout. Estimated project cost is 1.1 plus million. Funds being requested are just over $1 million. And the TAC is recommending 972,000 plus. That is all of the projects in the CMAQ. So now we're going to look at the carbon reduction program, if that's okay. Okay.
Could I just ask a quick question? I'm just curious
Please.
because most of those applications request a certain amount of funding and the recommended award is quite a bit less. So when they're working with those applicants, I'm assuming they're asking, well, if we give you this much, are they going then to ask for different pots of money? Are they going to have to fill the gap? Or what happens to the project if they can't meet the delta, I guess is the question.
Perfect question, Mayor. Thank you very much. So, and we'll see in the CMAQ and the CRP, we're going to have some crossover. So we're going to see some funding going to these projects out of the other. That's why we wanted them close. But we'll also see that happen in the other programs as well. What we do is there's kind of a strategy in the programming of these projects. In some projects, it seeds the project so that those around know that this is a project that this body has identified as a priority and it's important. It gives that project sponsor that ability then to go after other funds, using our funds for a match potentially, and or coming back to us in a later year and asking for additional monies if unsuccessful going after other resources. When we approve a project, oh, go ahead, Wayne.
Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay, great.
Thank you. Great question, Mayor. So in that carbon reduction program, then we have two projects that are being recommended in the Ogden-Layton area for 1.4 plus million, and three projects in the Salt Lake urban area for 2.4 plus million. And so looking at those projects, the first one here is Weber County. This is the project on 9th South between 4160 West, 3600 West. So that project in the last program, you'll recall, received $1 million recommended from the CMAQ. In this program then, the TAC recommended that shortfall so that this project can move forward. Another project that was reviewed and recommended by the TAC is this project in Far West City. This is also a pedestrian and bicycle facility between 2575 West, or on 2575 West between 3300 North and 2975 North, just a little more than a half mile. Estimated cost is 1.5 plus million. Funds being requested are 1.4 plus million, and the TAC recommended $1.1 million on this project. Then we go into the Salt Lake area for the three projects. UTA van pool request in the Salt Lake. This is for 10 new vans to increase the size of the van pool program. The requested amount was $419,000. Estimated total project cost was $450,000. The TAC recommended the full requested amount. The next project is that intersection in Sandy on 114th and 1300 East. Estimated cost is 5.3 plus million, little more than 5 million recommended, and out of this program, the TAC recommended $1 million. So we're still about 3 million short on this project. The last project that was recommended funds in the CRP program is the UTA request for the Davis Salt Lake Connector operation. You'll recall this one goes from Farmington all the way up to the U of U at Research Park. And this is for operating expenses. This is over a 3-year period. 24 plus $1 million funds being requested were 5 million, and the TAC recommended that we put $1 million on that request for operating. And that would be all of the projects in the CMAQ and the CRP program.
Okay, so with that, are there any questions for Ben? Any online? Hearing and seeing none, then we'd like to get a motion that recommends to this council we approve those projects to be added to the draft 2026 through 2031 congestion mitigation air quality program and the 2027 carbon reduction program.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Joe and Carlton. Appreciate that. We'll put that to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, if any? That passes unanimously, Ben.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
by the
Chair.
way, to those online and here, let's give Ben a round of applause for his great.
Thanks, but you're the one that's doing all the work. Thanks for your participation and staying awake. There are more ice creams if you need that little pick-me-up.
Let's move on if we can. This is item 4D on the agenda, which is action recommendation of the 2027 Transportation Alternatives Program, or the TAP. Now, Ben, go ahead and review those projects really quick, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have 3 projects that were recommended in the Ogden Layton area totaling $1.2 million. And we had 3 projects in the Salt Lake urban area totaling $2.1 million. And so those projects, the first one is in Roy City. This is on 3100 West Sidewalk Project. This is Safe Routes to School project. A few years ago, Transcom recommended 300,000+ for this project. And this request is for additional funds for that same project. Project estimated cost for the total project is 1.6+ million. Funds being requested is 1.3+ million, and the TAC recommended 400,000 for this project. The next project is a project in North Ogden. This is for 2 hawk beacons on Washington Boulevard, one at 1900 North and one at 2650 North. The specific locations still to be determined as we move forward and as the warrants are made. In this particular project, though, the project estimated cost was 400,000. Funds being requested are 360,000. TAC recommended 300,000 with the recommendation that we focus on the one project, thinking and feeling that with the federal requirements, a hawk is pretty much going to be around 300, 400,000 for one. And so they'll need to come back for the other one, but this will give them that option to identify the highest priority. So the next project is a request there in Ogden. This is on SR 39. This is for a shared use path. Currently, there, SR 39 there are no sidewalks on this facility, and all the connecting roads are T intersections. So anyone that's coming from that neighborhood up there in the northeast part coming across, whether they be on foot or on bikes, are required to be in the roadway. This roadway has some horizontal challenges as well as vertical challenges, and it's a fairly dangerous facility. The idea is to construct a path along this, a pedestrian bicycle facility that'll enable them to be off the road. Estimated project cost is 3.1+ million. Funds being requested are a little more than 600,000, and the TAC recommended the 500,000 for this project. The next project is a request in Salt Lake City. This is on Murray City 5400 South. This is a Murray City UDOT request. You'll recall that Transcom a couple of years ago approved funding for the north side of this facility for sidewalk. This is to request sidewalk on the south side. Estimated project cost is $548,000. The request is for $200,000, and the TAC recommended the full $200,000. These projects will be built together, and that gives us that benefit of a synergy improvement there, as well as timing efficiencies. The next project is a request there on South Jordan Shields Lane multi-use path. This, well, we already got the recommended funding. Well, I lost all my train of thought. Actually, what I want you to, I don't know if you noticed though on the other slide, the amount that the project costed more. Sorry about that. I thought I turned it off. Strike two. Anyway, you lose your synergy and all things go to pot, don't they? This project here, depending on the funding source, some of our funding source, TAP program, we can actually is a quicker accelerated program. We're only funding, this is for funds for 2027. The other funds were in the CMAQ program, and those are 2031. We have that 4 years of inflation factor in there that if we can make those CMAQ funds come up to this level, this project's going to cost us less. Hence, we've got funding in the TAP program and the CMAQ. We'll pull them together and build the project for less. The next project that we have is the Salt Lake City Green Bike or Bike Share. This is for capital care for stations and bikes. This program has been around since 2013. We've got a lot of bikes. We've got a lot of stations that are wearing out. The parts are no longer available. And so these funds are to make repairs and replacements. So we've got there's 12 docks and 58 bikes that'll be addressed with this request. The request was for $792,000 and the tax recommending $400,000. And that should be all of the projects for the Transportation Alternative Program.
All right, once again, any questions here or online?
I
Hearing
have a
none,
question.
Go ahead, please.
On these trails that we're building and joint, are they tying into the statewide trail system, or are they just short trails that are that's coming on because of a need?
Commissioner, there's two answers to that. Hugh Van Wagener of our office could probably address that in a much quicker tone. Hugh?
Hugh, you want to take that real quick?
Yeah, very good question. The answer is both. And with the Utah Trail Network still developing their vision that they're in the middle of doing, we don't quite know what that full network looks like, but there is a chance that some of the projects that have been funded this year and previously will tie directly into that network. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's fine. That's coming, and I was just wondering if we're looking at that, kind of tying those in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, then I'd like to recommend that this council approve the projects to be added to the draft of the 2027 Transportation Alternatives Program.
So moved.
Okay, we got a motion by, who's online?
Fantastic.
Commissioner Van Tassel, and a second by Joe Smoka, Mayor Smoka. Place that for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes. And Ben, we're going to now go to 4E like Echo. This
Thank
is
you.
the recommendation for the 2026 to 2031 Surface Transportation Program.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have 6 projects that were recommended in the Ogden-Layton area totaling $10 million. And we have 10 projects recommended in the Salt Lake urban area totaling a little more than 22 million or 22,500,000. The first project there that we'll look at is a project in Clinton. This on 2300 North. This is for reconstruct with minor widening. This facility, as you can see, has well lived its life. It'll reconstruct this road, widen it to a uniform cross section with curb gutter and sidewalk. Estimated project cost is $5 million. Funds being requested are $2.5 million, and the TAC recommended $1.5 million for this project. The next project is a project in Centerville City that's on 1250 West. This is also to reconstruct this facility as well as improve the bike lanes on both directions. Estimated project cost is $1.5 million. Funds being requested are $1 million, and the funds recommended by the TAC is $1 million. The next project is a project in Hooper. This on 5500 West. This is to reconstruct with minor widening to identify a uniform cross-section on this road to provide 3 lanes of traffic and curb gutter and sidewalk. This project is estimated to cost $4.2 million. Funds being requested are $2.1 million, and the TAC recommended $2 million for this project. The next project is a project in West Point. This is on 300 North, and I forgot to tell you the from and to's on the other end. Sorry about that. But this one's between 4000 West and 4500 West, a little more than a half mile in length. To reconstruct this road with a shared use path on the north side of this facility, curb gutter and sidewalk. Project estimated cost is $4.4 plus million. Funds being requested are $2.9 plus million, and the funds being recommended are $1.5 million. The next project is a project in Marriott Slaterville. This is a project on 1200 West. This is to reconstruct with minor widening. This will be for curb gutter and sidewalk improvements between 400 North and 700 South. Little more than a mile in length. Estimated project cost is $6.5 plus million. Funds being requested are $3.7 plus million. The TAC recommended $2 million for this project. The next project is a project up in Box Elder County. This in Brigham City. This on 12th West. This will widen this facility, reconstruct this facility with curb gutter and sidewalk, shoulders. Estimated project cost is $2.8 plus million. Funds being requested are $2.6 plus million. The TAC recommended $2 million for this project. Now we move into the Salt Lake area. Our first project is on Holiday City. This is for Highland Drive reconstruction on this between Arbor Lane to Van Winkle Express. The estimated project cost is 15 plus million. Funds being requested are $5 million, and the TAC recommended $2.5 million for this project. The next project is in Salt Lake City on Compwood Heights. This is also on Highland Drive between 7100 South and 6990 South, 0.2 of a mile in length. It's to widen near the intersection to reduce the crossover or the restriction lane loss. Estimated project cost is 3.8 plus million. Funds being requested are 3.5 plus million, and the TAC recommended $2 million for this project. Next project is in Mill Creek City. This is also on Highland Drive. This is to reconstruct. This project is between the city boundary and 3300 South, half mile in length. This is to develop a complete street type with bike and ped facilities, as well as reconstruct the existing facility with curb gutter and sidewalk. Estimated project cost is 7.2 plus million. Funds being requested are 6.7 plus million. TAC recommending $2 million for this project. The next project is a project in Taylorsville City. This project that the Transcom's recommended funding in the past. This is on 3900 South between Redwood Road and the Jordan River. This is to construct shared use paths on both sides of 3900 South, as well as provide curb gutter and sidewalk. Estimated project cost is $13 plus million. Funds being requested are 7.4 plus million, and the TAC recommended $2.5 million on this project. The next project is in Riverton. This is on 1300 West. This is to reconstruct this narrow 2-lane facility to a 3-lane cross section with curb gutter and sidewalk between 131 South and 137 South, 3/4 of a mile in length. Project estimated cost is 9.7 plus million, and the funds being requested are 7.1 plus million, and the TAC recommended $2 million for this project. The next project is a project in West Valley City that's on 7200 West to reconstruct with minor widening as well as improvements to curb gutter and sidewalk where missing. This estimated cost is at 6.5 plus million. Funds being requested are 4.2 plus million, and the TAC recommended $2.5 million for this project. The next project is a project on Draper. This is a project that's actually under construction right now, and they had a significant shortfall. Came to us discussing what's the strategy to get additional funds on this. Because of the amount of the ask, we requested that they go through the full project evaluation process. This is between 123rd South and 12650 South, just under a half mile in length. Estimated cost is $13 plus million. Funds being requested are 4.3 plus million, and the TAC recommended $2.5 million. The next project is a project in West Jordan. It's on 1300 West. This is between 6600 South and 7800 South. This project has the goal to continue the efforts to make 1300 West our west side bike ped route. This will make the widening improvements necessary for bike and ped facilities. Estimated project cost is 20 plus million. Funds being requested are 3 million, and the TAC recommended $2 million for this project. This project will also go to construction here fairly quickly. The next project is a request from UDOT. This is on I-15 and 7200 South. This is for the northbound on-ramp. This is the widening on-ramp on 7200 South to reduce the merge. Right now, the westbound going north on I-15 has kind of a blind corner where they have to merge to the eastbound, northbound traffic onto that merge lane. This will widen that facility, improve safety improvements. Estimated cost is a little more than 7 million. Funds being requested are 3.5 million, and the TAC recommended 2.5 million for this project. The next project is a request from UTA. This is in their effort on the light rail vehicles. Currently, we have a lot of light rail vehicles that have a high floor that makes it difficult for pedestrians, or they can tell when they run up. No, I better not say that. I was going to say a high floor, you could tell who you run over, but that wouldn't be very nice. Sorry. This would make them all low floor vehicles. They're currently in the process of taking care of 20 vehicles. This is for the next 20. Estimated request is for $10 million. Project estimated at $146 million, and the TAC recommended that we program $2 million on this project. And that is all of the STP program projects.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of information. Quite a bit in both areas. Any questions? None in the room. Any online? Makes it pretty easy. The hearing none. What we'd like to do is make a recommendation that this council approve those projects that were recommended to be added to the 2026 through 2031 Surface Transportation Program. I'll look for a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Rob and Carlton, thank you very much. Place that for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. That passes again unanimously with those here, Ben. Thank you so much for your expertise there. Appreciate that. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just apologize for the UTA comment. Sorry about that.
We still love you, Ben.
Thank you.
Well, I think it was very observant. I think very good for you, Ben. That was good. Thank you. So, okay. Get your calendars. This next meeting will be held on Thursday, June the 19th. That's a special day in Utah history. Look that up. But Thursday the 19th, it'll probably be around 1:30 again. Next one is a motion to adjourn. Please not all at once. I can't discern which one it is. Okay, Carl, thank you. Got a motion and a second. Thank you. All in favor? We're adjourned.